Hey everybody, I'm actually on my lunch break at work and I'm going to take some of this time to work in this piece here. As you can see, I brought up the original sketch layer just so we can see what the original sketch was supposed to look like. Again, the pose of St. Joseph was a bit different. There's a lot of gesture and flowy lines here, and I did have a background. I thought it was going to be like an arched door or just some kind of arch. I do like the way it affects the composition. The drawing ended up being larger than the originals, but if I wanted to add that background, I might maybe downsize the Holy Family and add in that arch. I'm not 100% sure, and I might experiment with adding maybe at least a composition of a background in here. So here's what I'll do. I'll go down here, I'll add another layer, and I might just start sketching something in. I don't know if it's going to be a door or like a pair of pillars with an arch and like some kind of vines or something. I don't really know. Again, this art piece is alive, and it's been evolving as I've been going through this. It's been like 8 to 9 hours already, and it's just continuing to evolve. So I'm gonna take a pencil and draw in here. And again, I invite any of you who might be interested in drawing along with me. If you have something to work on, go ahead and pull out your tablet or sketchbook and go ahead and work alongside me, and that would be wonderful. Now, there is a topic of discussion. I haven't really had the most topics of discussion, but I do have one today, and I call it the fog of war. It's sort of a spiritual fog of war. I'm gonna make sure I am drawing as well while I'm talking about this too. I characterize it as a spiritual fog of war because I learned that if you are in sin, stuck in sin, one tends to cave in on himself. That's what I heard from, I don't remember which priest described it that way, but I, from experience, have felt that before, where it feels like a caving in on oneself when one is living in sin, that you kind of get stuck in one's own world, one's own pit of shame and suffering and sin and the suffering that results from sin. All one's like personal vices, which is like fear and cowardice, lack of virtue, all these ways of describing it. And if I try to break out of that sort of void that happens when living in sin, it can be very confusing. It can feel like I'm stuck. And what happens is that blindness is like a way of describing it, where I start to become spiritually blind, where because I'm stuck in my own rut, I'm unable to see the future, or rather, if I do look at the future, I might be able to see that, okay, if I continue in this life, it won't be good. It will result in all the negative consequences, both spiritually and eternally and temporally in this world, that result from that sin. I really like the way this affects the composition. I might throw in, like, I'll use my painting brush, and I might throw in like a color for a door, maybe, because I was thinking orange for the whole thing. I might even just change the background color of this entire thing just to see how it looks. Okay, so when it's brown, it doesn't really look that good. And I was using a white for the highlight layer, so I do want it to be very close to white, if not white. And I'm not sure if any color at all would like complement this piece. Because I use the white highlight, it just makes sense for the background to be white. So if I keep it white, excuse me, then it fits. So maybe if I just painted it instead into, is this an empty layer? I think that's an empty layer. I'm gonna paint a yellow in. Going back to my topic, here's the thing. If we start to use our capacities, capacities, is that the right word? Our faculties to start navigating our way out of sin and relying on ourselves and our own intellect, we can make quite a great deal of progress. Because I mean, the human mind is very powerful. We can solve a lot of things. We can compute. We can plan. Ultimately, our scope is gonna be finite. That's just in our nature. But we push it as far as we can. That's just human ingenuity. So once we break out of that pit of sin and self, whatever it is, just this negative feedback loop, and because we all have some kind of negative feedback loop in our lives if we're living in sin. But we can start opening our eyes and starting to navigate, and again, just using our own faculties, our finite faculties, we can start solving our own problems. And that's what it is. That's the scientific method. That's what the brain is designed to do, solve problems. But even then, we start to we can really plan well for the future. Of course, the world is chaotic. The universe is chaotic at all scales, like on the microscopic scale, on the subatomic scale, on the universal scale. There's some element of chaos that we cannot control, whether it's limited by our own finite knowledge, even collectively as a human race, a finite base of knowledge based on our observation. So thinking about this, it's like there's a dark void, and then there's the human scope, which is very, very large but limited. And for me as a believer in God, the idea of trusting in God is subjecting myself to His will, to whatever He has for me, but living in His commandments, living in also the call to love, living in agape, and trusting that whatever comes from that is going to be His will. So what happens is that when I move beyond my finite scope as a human and I move into His will, the fog starts to come back in a way, but rather than a fog of darkness, it is a fog of light, because it's like I'm allowing Him to lead me, allowing Him to lead the way in love. And I can only predict what is within that human scope. So it doesn't remove that human scope. I'm still operating within that. But rather than trying to plan for everything according to my will, subjecting myself to the Lord's will makes things hazy, in the sense that I am living according to Him in every moment, come what may. And that's something that brings me back to the story of Joan of Arc. One of the great quotes from her life is from the governor, Robert de Baudricourt. When he sent her off to do her mission, he said, "Go and come what may," because he knew. I mean, she was living according to the will of God, and sometimes that could mean something as extreme as martyrdom. Joan of Arc, Jesus Himself, all the apostles, the many martyrs of the church, they lived according to love, and were killed for it. And of course, people might argue that the Christian life is not one of love, but that's at its core. The Christian life is one where you subject yourself to God's will, who is love. Again, sorry, I'm talking a lot and not doing so much in the art piece here, because this video is a little bit more about the topic of discussion. But just kind of like looking at this, I like the composition. I might want to take out all these little pieces of the paint there. I think it looks nice, but I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm going to merge these together, actually. I'm going to merge this down. I'm going to move everything down a little bit to see how the composition changes, because the top of the arch is a little bit too high in comparison to the top of the canvas. And I'm going to see what happens if I take the drawing group and I downsize it a little bit. Make sure Jesus' head is centered, the centerpiece, according to the original sketch too, because I remember my original sketch was Jesus' head was centered. So I'm going to move everything in the drawing group to the left a little bit, right there. And bring back the paint layer. So yeah, everything, I think the reason I had moved them to the right though is because compositionally, like Mary is not centered. Yeah, there's a lot of St. Joseph to the left and a lot of Mary to the right, so I might move everything slightly to the right. Jesus' face still being as centered as possible in the composition. And I think that looks good. It balances the piece a little bit. I do like this. I'm going to mess with the colors here. I'm going to return to my topic in a little bit. It was this yellow that I had, but it's too close to the skin color. I might desaturate a little bit and darken a little bit to make a wooden type of color. But again, it's really close to the skin color. What is the most pleasing? Like I'm just feeling a yellow orange. Saturate. I'm just gonna keep playing with it until I find something that feels satisfying. I think something like this is okay. Again, this is just a placeholder for composition. I don't really know what it's going to be, if it's going to be a door or an arch. I feel like a door might work. I'm just going to leave it like that for now, and I'm going to continue coloring Jesus. Again, it's just a placeholder. Okay, we'll return back to the child Jesus and keep painting, because I don't want to get too much caught up in something that I'm not sure what it is. But again, kind of related to the topic, it is the fog of war. I came into this art piece knowing that it would evolve, knowing that I wanted to push myself to something better. And that's kind of what the journey with God is like. It's like, I want to be better, I want to be perfect, I want to be holy, and I don't know what that's going to look like. And I can try to plan it out and play it out in my mind. But until I do it, until I live that life, whatever God wills, the weather is something that we cannot predict. And it's kind of like that. God's will is like the weather. I mean, people call, hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff acts of God. Hold on. Is the background color white? Just want to make sure it is white. So, no, it was not all the way white. Okay. That's what was happening there. So, again, the book from Walter Ciszek, With God in Russia, is really expanding my mind. I think I'm going to do an overlay layer real quick to get some youthful redness in his face. I'm going to turn this to an overlay. I'm going to take my airbrush and put a little bit of light red in there. See how it changes his face. Maybe dark red, pinkish red. Adding some youthful blush. That's too red now. We'll go into the orange. Orange. Let's try this. Too orange. There's so much like unsureness in my process. Something like that. I think that's okay, the way that affected the color. It brought some youthful redness to his face. Not quite a blush, but I think we can go with that for right now. There's not a whole lot of lighting on his face yet, so I'll just merge this down. Okay, then continue painting here. Let's see. We were on the highlight color, I think. Okay. So the fog of war applies to darkness and light in different ways, where subjecting oneself to the will of God, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but when subjecting oneself to the will of God becomes the world starts to become kind of vague. You can no longer really predict what God is going to do when you're completely submitted to a will that's not your own. And this is almost easier to do if I've chosen to remove myself from that life of sin, which I do want. But what that ultimately leads to is like, okay, can I really do this with my human capacity? I tried before and it didn't work. Or maybe I can increase my virtue and increase my faculties, But there are certain virtues that I cannot receive, that I cannot even have without the will of God, which is like faith, hope, and charity, the theological virtues. Those can only be really attained through the will of God. Can anyone brute force hope? That's an interesting question, I think. I wonder. I'm speaking here out loud, not as a teacher, but kind of just thinking out loud. What does this whole thought process look like? I wish I had the capacity to like make these videos like video essays, but you know, I'm working on some art here and trying to do things while thinking deeply about these topics. I should really focus more on the art though. I don't know, this piece, here's what I'll do. I'm gonna separate this because I can't look at it as a complete piece with all these kind of distractions around here. So I'm gonna cut these and paste. Cut and paste in a new layer. And call that the swatches. And I'm gonna remove them. See, I did make everything smaller, and with this background, this composition looks nice with the background there. But if I make the drawing group big again, can they stand alone as just an artwork with a white background? Which is better, is what I'm wondering. If I keep transforming it, it's going to lose pixel fidelity, so I don't want to do that too much. I might go back here. Yeah, I'm going to make it big. Here, like that. You know, because I'm thinking about this as a print. Like, would it look good with just a white background? If I was on Twitch, I could like ask the chat. It's confusing because it seems so boring, right? It's just a drawing on a white piece of paper. I used to do like gradients. Funnily, there's no straight up gradient tool on Procreate. I use an airbrush. Let's take this color. Let's try airbrushing. This was never in the plan, but let's see what happens if I do like the old way of how I did backgrounds for prints. Having a background color like that is nice, but still not that strong. What if I take this layer? I'm going to turn on the alpha lock and just going to fill it in with that same color. So to remove those outlines. Yeah, it does a lot. It does a lot for the picture to have this composition. So I'm going to go back and downsize the Holy Family again. There. Because with that size, they looked good with that background. So here, bring it back. Turn on alpha lock this, and then airbrush. I think they could be a little bit bigger. Yeah, I like how the lilies and Mary's sleeve will kind of pop out of the composition a little bit if I do make them as large as the arch. But I want it to feel like a door, because otherwise St. Joseph would be like extremely tall. But the door could recede into the background a little bit. So let's see here. What if we downsize this a little bit? Yeah. Or keep it that way? No. Yeah, that was too much. That was a little bit much though. Okay. I don't know how deeply I want to illustrate the background as a door. I'm going to take this though. I'm going to paint a little bit more, a little higher. Oh, turn off that alpha lock. So here, I'm going to level it. And then we'll color drop right in there. Increase the threshold a little bit. Paint in there. Was that too high? I think that was too high. We'll make slight adjustments. We'll go this high, see how that looks. Huh. Let's see. Let's just manually erase it. Let's see. Man, why is composition so hard? I went to a museum where they were showing Chinese art, and the compositions they had were so gorgeous. Very impressed by Chinese art. Sometimes I wish I could just instantly download skill into my mind. I think maybe have it a different color that might affect the composition, make it look like the ground. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with composition, but it just might make more sense to me visually if I have it that way. Yeah? Yeah, something like this. Just very slightly under that. How's that? Move the Holy Family. Jesus' feet are too close to the ground now. Very slight. How's that? There's sandals. They have so many sandals. So many feet down there. I mean, it looks good compositionally. It looks decent. Again, this is iconographic, going for an anime style, so I feel like the background being white is okay. And I might just solidify the lines in the back. I'm totally not sure about this. It feels like we're getting there. Like, I feel like I could print this out and it might look nice. I need to get my pen on the canvas, I guess. I'm experiencing that fog of war. It's like, Lord, maybe I should pray. Lord, help me finish this piece. Help me know what this looks like. Help me make art that glorifies you. Help, I will be your hands, my Lord. That would be my prayer right now. Let me be your hands to make this painting. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I want to submit myself to the Father's will. I am the artist. I'm the painter. I've trained in this craft for some number of years, but when I was trying to lead myself into like whatever the art would lead me to, it ended up being a couple things. First of all, like, I use my art just going in whatever direction that life kind of... Oh, you know what? Oh, whoops. That should have been an eraser. Just whatever, life, and just not really having too much discretion on what I was doing. Even, drawing things, sinfully or not according to the Lord's will. Just took me wherever. And now it's like, I want the Lord to make my art perfect. To use me, and again, St. Joan of Arc, act and God will act. To do the work, keep moving, and allow my intuition and really allow the Spirit to lead me to whatever this is supposed to become. I feel like I want to embolden some line weight on here. So this is a multiply layer, but it's kind of a light gray. So I'm going to do some hue and saturation on this, on the line art now. I'm going to maybe darken it a little bit. Yeah, here's what I'll do. Instead of that, I'll do it this way. I'll do an alpha lock on the line layer, and then I'll do line weight and color the line art however I think might look good. So I'm going to take this darker brown here. I'm going to start creating some line weight here in the shadow areas of the piece. Just taking a dark brown right now, coloring that in. Yeah, I don't want these lines to be too strong in any where it doesn't need to be. And I might even light some of it, get like a light orange. And it's still on multiply, so it's still going to look like an outline, but maybe light some of the pieces where there might be light, maybe even closer to white here. So it's not going to get too light because we are using a multiply layer. But just lightening it. Yeah, not over the face there. Let's go ahead and take for Mary, we'll use like a softer red color. Let's see. Yeah. Let's darken it a bit, actually. Here. Let's darken it around the hand. And then for Jesus, we'll just take a neutral gray or like a yellow gold and get some shadows in there. Increase the contrast a little bit by changing the color of the line art. Okay. I did a bit much on Mary's. I'm gonna take this middle gray and go back over the edges of the headgear. I don't know what to call that, the headdress, but not too much, right? I think having a light outline there is okay. Hard edge. Let's actually remove the ink layer, see how it looks. Yeah, it actually looks kind of nice. So if this is a multiply layer, I can actually just use a white. I might even remove the outline completely from Mary's thing. Yeah, maybe some parts so we can remove it completely, leaving just the highlight. Now we're actually going towards that original intention of following the AFK journey style coloring, where I'm using the silhouette and the shape of the color as outline. I might make this very slightly, bring it back slightly with the gray here. Yeah, it looks weird, like she's kind of just floating in there if we're just using the silhouette. So, let's kind of experiment with this. Okay. Just do bits and pieces of it. And then white up top. Maybe in just certain highlighted spots, like there, right in the center, on the sides there. I'm gonna erase a piece of it. Right up there. We're coming to a place now where it's almost done. It's like actually almost done. I'm gonna take a dark brown, maybe go over. I removed the alpha lock. What happened? Alpha lock. Oh, I was in the wrong layer. Okay. Yeah, I think it's almost done now. Just again thinking about this as a print, the colors seem a little bit off. I'm gonna do. We're really getting there. I'm gonna do a little mess with the hue and saturation a little bit more. I think the hues I have are okay. I feel like it could be a little bit more saturated. Since we're going anime here, bold colors are okay. Just a little bit. How's the brightness? No, I think it's okay. I think the level we had was okay. Don't want to change that too much. I could darken and saturate. No, we don't want that. Lighten. No, yeah, I think it's good as is. But now we're gonna do a color balance, so I'm actually gonna undo and redo that. Yeah, it's a very slight shift, but I think that saturation looks nice. We're gonna do color balance for all of them. Let's do highlights first. No, yeah, it looks good here. Just gonna try to leave it alone. Towards the magenta, nope. Towards the green, nope. Just any shift towards any color, if it looks good, I'll keep it. The yellow, not really. No, we'll keep that. Maybe very slightly towards the yellow. Might look okay, but just very slightly. We'll check out midtones now. Let's see. Towards cyan, no, that doesn't really make any sense. Kind of has a nice effect on Mary's dress, but it changes too much of everything else. Towards red, no. They blend into the background too much. Magenta, no. Green, no. Everything looks good here. Yellow, no. Blue, no. So my color choices are okay. Shadows. What about shadows? Moving to the cyan, no. Red, no. Magenta. The magenta colors look, magenta shadows looks kind of cool. But I think I wanted to go more into the blue for the shadows, for cool colors. But it's really changing a lot. No, I don't like the way that changed, but yeah, I want to keep the colors that I had. Let's see, gradient map. Ooh, oh, that would be weird. Oh, I've never really tried this before. Wow, that's actually pretty cool, the effect that this has. And I'm not going to use it, but it's kind of nice how the gradient map. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Okay. Like using a gradient map as some kind of overlay or multiply layer. I don't know. I have 17 minutes left on my lunch break. I might go inside pretty soon and maybe upload some of these, but let's try curves. Oh, it's in the blue, so hold on. Let's get into the gamma. Okay, so let's do curves. Let's just be in the gamma here. So this is kind of like a brightness contrast curve. I do like having a little bit more contrast because it kind of brings out St. Joseph's the folds in his clothes, but maybe we don't want to overdo it though. Just make it very subtle. As an anime print, how is this going? The saturation is getting a little strong. Yeah, I get the contrast really extreme here. That's not bad. But then their skin colors get a little bit light. I like this curve I just want it more slight. Oh wow. Oh wow, that's weird. I've never really like messed with this that much. Oh, so pulling this down darkens the shadows. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, just move it down slightly. Okay, let's see how that looks. That's actually not bad, the way I adjusted the curves there. It didn't change my colors that much. It just darkened the shadows a little bit. The red in Mary's sleeve improved. That was intentional. Just change. Yeah, I kind of like this. I feel like I have to adjust his skin color a little bit after doing that. Because I like this skin color, and it changed a bit when I did that. But I still have the swatches, right? So I can sort of rework his skin color again. So I could just do it manually. Right? With a color drop. Yeah, we could just do it manually. Something like that. Just sort of redo it. I don't know. I feel like I'm messing things up. Okay. It started to look a little pale. There. That looks good. Yeah, this is evolving. I don't know if it like is better than when I started out. Not too much change, but I have that composition. Yeah, this is evolving. Okay, and I darkened the shadows. That looks good. I think we're going to stop here. I have about 12 minutes left on my break. I'm going to head back to work. But I feel like we're getting there. I feel like I'm maybe 75 to 80% done here. I just want to clean things up and get some kind of good background going. Would I want this piece on my altar? I don't know yet. I feel like it's not ready yet until I know I would want this piece on my altar. So yeah, we'll stop there. Maybe I will continue making that prayer, guys. Make that prayer, out of sin, beyond human scope, into the will of God. Lord, help lead me as an artist and make this something that's all yours. So that would be my prayer. Amen, folks. So I'll talk to y'all later. God bless. Bye-bye.